Jacqui, your seminary professor gave you a definition of love that you use in the book. And it might be my all-time favorite definition of love. It's almost tattoo worthy, I think, this particular definition. Would you be happy to share that with us?
I will. It was Jim Loder, James E. Loder, who wrote the book, The Transforming Moment. Lots of people know that book. But he said that love is the non-possessive delight in the particularity of the other. Now, he was like me, a psychologist, a religion kind of person. So you can hear in that the way therapists talk about an unconditional regard, Carl Rogers and others, but a non-possessive delight in the particularity of the other. And for the longest time, y'all, I was like, I thought that was Diogenes Allen who said that, right? So I would be trying to attribute it to Diogenes Allen, and then I'd look it up, and then it would be Jacqui Lewis said. I was quoting Diogenes Allen, but I literally called an old friend and I said, "Who said that?" And they were like, "It was Jim Loder." And then I looked up the book, and there it was. And Jim was a lovely man who came to faith kind of late in life. And one of the stories he tells would tell us is of how his little petite wife, his car fell on him when he was changing the tire. And his teeny tiny petite wife picked up the car, right, and saved his life. And that just changed his whole world, that kind of love. So non-possessive delight in the unique particularity of the other.
Yeah, I think that definition should be taught in schools, to be honest. It's just because we have this idea of love that is quite possessive, this idea of love that is intrinsically caught up with having the other, in some way, owning or having a stake in the other. Whereas the idea of a non-possessive delight, it leaves enough air for enough room for air to flow through. It leaves some, I don't know, it takes away the anxiety, it takes away the clinging, it takes all these things away that can harm love. So I just think it's such a beautiful definition.
Right. And Jacqui, I think that's one thing your book does. I've always felt that we've got this real dearth of descriptors of love, of what love looks like. And we have Hollywood, which doesn't help us most of the time. We've got this sort of an awful lot. If you actually take that definition of non-possessive love or non-possessive delight and put it onto a lot of the romantic movies, you'll actually go, gosh, that doesn't fit, does it?
It doesn't really fit, does it? Yeah.
Teaching people possession, ownership, control, as if it's some kind of romantic, has a romantic quality sometimes in some of those.
That's right. Too. Yeah.
And yet, so we need to find ways to paint a picture of what love really looks like for people, because otherwise they have trouble imagining it, and they have trouble seeing when it's not like that, which is where domestic violence can flourish, because people actually don't know. One of the saddest things I heard recently is from someone who's working in domestic violence sector in Brisbane here, and they produced a document for the churches, and they actually had to have a diagram of what throttling looked like, and describing what it would feel like, that you might see bruises here, it might happen just in other conversations. And she said, we have to actually describe it, because otherwise people don't recognize that it's a problem. They know that that's a problem, but they didn't know that that sort of throttling is actually part of violent behavior and abusive. And in the same way, I think we've painted pictures of love that are wrong, distorted, all about possession and control. And so people cannot see what love's meant to look like, and they can't see when they have a problem that needs to be called out. And until you start to spell those things out, then they can see. We have to be very achingly specific. So we need to be achingly specific also about the good stuff, about, this non-possessive delight. How, if we got that message out there, maybe then people and relationships might have more of a chance of recognizing love when they find it.